here's a channel that has come up sharing to a Facebook group I'm an admin of for a while. So I thought I'd have a look at one of them and actually see the content and how accurate it is. Star Wars shorts with how the ancient Sith Lords would have viewed Darth Sidious. There's a bit of a speculation one, so it'll be interesting to see what they say. This was 11 days ago.
Hi and welcome to Star Wars Shorts. In today's video, we will explore what the ancient Sith Lords might have thought about Darth Sidious. The Sith of the Old Republic era, those from the time of Exar Kun, Darth Revan, Darth Malak, Darth Bane, and others, never
I like the style because it reminds me of the Galactic Timeline videos.
directly knew of Darth Sidious, as he lived more than 1,000 years after most of them. However, based on what we know about their beliefs, philosophies, and goals, we can reasonably infer how they would have regarded him if they had known of him. Darth Bane, who founded the Rule of Two after witnessing the Sith's self-destructive infighting, would likely have seen Darth Sidious as the ultimate proof that his philosophy worked. Sidious was the culmination of the Rule of Two, an apprentice who rose in secret, manipulated galactic politics, destroyed the Jedi, and seized absolute power. Bane would likely admire Sidious for his cunning and patience, his mastery of both Sith and political strategy, his successful execution of the grand plan to destroy the Jedi and rule the galaxy. That said, Bane might question Sidious's long-term sustainability, especially the decision to create the Death Star or take on multiple apprentices like Maul, Dooku, and Vader, which...
Okay, I hope they might mention as well how the Emperor's mindset changed to be he wants to live forever, rather than actually pass down to an apprentice that would become stronger than him. As you could argue, like Maul and Dooku were not true apprentices. A bit like how Bane started to think that Xana might not be an appropriate apprentice and found Cognus and that kind of thing.
Flirted with breaking the Rule of Two. Revan was a complex figure, a warrior philosopher who believed in using the dark side for the sake of galactic stability. He wasn't a traditional Sith in the same way as others, and he valued balance and pragmatic power.
Now, I wonder about the Darth Revan, like the version of Darth Revan. Now, obviously, Bane got the idea of the Rule of Two from the holocron of Darth Revan, but the actual information regarding him, I might have a look. Maybe a little sus. Maybe a little bit prone to speculation. Now, if we have sources from that time, Knights of the Republic comic series is before he falls to the dark side, and then KOTOR is after. So the only thing in between is a mention in Lost of the Sith Sentinel and the betrayal of Darth Revan, which was unlicensed. It was an adventure by Wizards of the Coast. The things we find. And that is before... No, that's neat. They're assigned to clear the way for Bastila Shan and a Jedi strike team for their attack upon Revan's flagship. Neat. Okay. And then Sentinel... Yeah, it's really unconnected as such. So, we turn to source books, which I haven't read as much of, but a lot of it may be references back to the character and stuff, but not actually showing the character in a story is a thing where I go up to interpretation a little bit.
Revan might respect Sidious's brilliance and effectiveness, but condemn his cruelty and the destruction caused by his rule. Revan's vision was to protect the galaxy from existential threats. Sidious's vision was pure domination and control. Exar Kun, who was proud, ambitious, and deeply steeped in Sith sorcery, might have resented Sidious. While he would likely recognize Sidious's power, he might consider him a lesser Sith because Sidious relied heavily on manipulation and political scheming rather than ancient Sith magic and raw power. Kun would likely see Sidious as cunning, but not pure enough in his embrace of Sith mysticism. The ancient Sith, like...
Exar Kun might, but then also Exar would also see that it worked. And Sidious is big on mysticism, the mysteries of the Sith, alchemy, use of the Force over lightsaber combat, and using his knowledge to his advantage. So in a way, that worked. Exar might respect him, especially if it was posthumously, for example, if Sidious encountered Exar Kun's Sith spirit on Yavin 4.
Naga Sato and Marka Ragnos led vast empires openly, ruling through fear and war. They believed in domination through sheer force, massive temples and armies of slaves. To them, being a Sith wasn't about secrecy. It was about making the galaxy kneel before them. They'd probably think Sidious was clever, but also cowardly for ruling from the shadows, and deem him unworthy to be a true Sith Emperor.
He didn't really rule from the shadows, though. He didn't openly say he was Sith, and he manipulated the perception of him to the general public, but he was always the Emperor from the formation of the Empire. So I wouldn't say he really ruled from the shadows.
They might grudgingly admire his success, but disdain his methods. To them, Sith power was meant to be displayed, not hidden. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button for more videos like these. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Interesting. Good speculation. I think it'd be good if we put in some of the reference points for the main parts of information, because otherwise some sounds a little bit more like speculation. That's neat. Interesting topic to think about. And Agent Sith Lords wasn't even mentioning, like, he lumped Naga Sato and Marka Ragnos in there, but he didn't talk about Ludo Crash and the difference Ludo Crash would have with Naga Sato, especially as explored in the Tales of the Jedi comics. That sort of thing. And then if we look at Ancient Sith Lords now, it will be interesting to speculate about how Vitiate / Valkorion would see Sidious, because you could include him in Ancient Sith Lords